So as many of you guys know, Morgan is currently on raid up over on the NA version of the game for the release of Lost Belt 6, but what is not shown here, at least on the NA version of the game, is that there's going to be a second banner, and that banner is going to bring back Castoria over here. Now, we're not exactly there for the JP timetable, but I'm assuming they're going to release it, well, when this video comes out, she should be live on the game, because Monday is our resets. That's when we get our updates over here on NA, and there's nothing else for them to really drop right now, and waiting the 2 weeks between the original Morgan banner and the second banner when Castoria drops seems a little bit weird, because the 20th is going to bring the second part for Lost Belt 6. I don't think they're going to wait 2 weeks and just have nothing in this period, because I know we have dead weeks, but they usually still will like drop a banner, or they'll announce some campaign that usually won't have a whole lot in it, right? But it'll still be a campaign, so I'm assuming they're going to drop her now instead of waiting the 2 weeks, because yeah, we have the second part for Lost Belt 6 that's going to release on the 20th, and then we have the anniversary on the 2nd, or at least the anniversary live stream on the 2nd. So I'm assuming they kind of need to speed up a little bit of these things, right? Like they need to release this second banner probably sooner than later. I don't think they want to wait a whole extra week, or they could drop NeroFest. If they want to do that early, I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's not what happens tomorrow, or I guess today when this comes out, then I will happily be wrong and take NeroFest, right? I will gladly be wrong and take the lottery event. But even then, this video will still be nice for people that maybe want to summon for Castoria, or are wondering if she's still worth summoning for before the anniversary actually drops. I don't think this is really like a time-gated video. So even if they do release her next week, you could at least come back to this and still get the same thoughts and opinions and everything. And maybe you get an extra week to marinate on the idea of if you want to summon for her or not. But before we actually begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for that daily FGO content. And if you want to see me play FGO, I'm probably live later today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do that every single weekday, and you can find that Twitch linked down in the description down below. But let's go ahead and start diving right into this. Now, the first thing I will say that instead of summoning on this banner right here, I think it's a much better idea to instead just go for the GSSR that she's going to be on during the anniversary, because this guaranteed SSR summon is so nutty. You just have so many top tier busted servants on here. I mean, you have Castoria, the servant that is the subject of this video. You have Morgan, who even getting her at like NP2, NP3, even if you already got her on the initial banner, is not bad, because she's going to be a servant that you will use a lot. Miss Crane is just very nice to have. Not a needed support type servant, but very similar to someone, say, like Lady Avalon, where they're not necessary to make your teams better, but if you do have them, you could do a lot more things, and they'll make some of your pre-existing teams just that much better. Tyra, I mean, I already gushed over Tyra in her video earlier this year. She is just one of the most cracked like DPS servants we've got, like survival DPS. She's really nice. And then Karen, I would consider to be like the weakest servant on this banner, and that's kind of saying a lot. When this is your weakest servant on this banner, you know you're doing very well, because Karen is just a very solid, you know, you could use her as a DPS kind of like boss killing survivability lady in some challenge quests, or you could use her as a farmer, right? Because I say that you could use her in boss fights because she's got a lot of tools for that, between like the survivability and like the ability to really maintain NP and all that good stuff. But this is what I would recommend you do instead of this banner, because while we are going to be getting a pretty decent chunk of Saint Quartz leading into the anniversary, and then when the anniversary actually drops, we'll get another pretty good chunk of Saint Quartz dropped into us. You want to kind of set yourself up for really good success on either Koyanskaya or for the Oberon banner. I think they're both very valid to summon for. By the way, if you don't want to summon for Koyanskaya, I think you really should, because she's what enables you to do buster farming. But if you have Castoria and you don't care about buster farming, then Oberon is also really, really insane. Point being is that you want to set yourself up for one, if not both of them, because they are both game changers when they release. One of them allows you to pretty much just clap up the 90++ nodes that are going to be very annoying when they come out, and the other one allows you to kind of unlock a new style of play for buster servers, which I think is really cool. So I don't really recommend summoning on this banner if you can at all. I recommend maybe trying to hit the guaranteed SSR over here. But again, this is not guaranteed. So I can understand a lot of people being a little bit more hesitant for going for the guaranteed SSR, right? Because you may not get her. You might get Morgan, you might get Crane. And if you're specifically looking for Castoria, then you might be looking at this banner. But While I will say it is worth it, and I do think that Castoria, for the stuff that she enables, is comparable to Kolyanskaya and how good they are for your accounts, if not maybe a little bit more flexible and a tad bit better, specifically for things like this. For her charisma, when you have two Castorias, it enables you to give your entire party 60% NP, which if you're going to go for, say, Oberon, can be actually very nice, because then you can use your Castoria setups to still clear those 90++ nodes. And while you're not going to really be able to take advantage of the Buster buff that Oberon provides, you could still take advantage of the massive NP damage that he's going to give you, especially because Art Servants are really good at using stuff like Black Grail, especially when someone like Summer Kama releases later on this year, or next year when we get Summer Ibuki, or even Space Ishtar, who we have right now. Really good servants that could take advantage of the 60% that Castoria gives them, and they can also use their own 50% battery to get up to 100%. They could really take advantage of some of those weird Oberon setups where you need to do those 90++ nodes, but you just need that little bit of extra damage to guarantee a kill on those. They are really good at taking advantage of that, right? It's like, because of this, that really makes Castoria very versatile and still gives her a shot at taking down some of those 90++ nodes. Although I will say, in my experience as someone who is on JP, has Castoria, has some decent Art Servants, but doesn't have Oberon, that's when it can get a little bit tricky as far as being able to clear some of those things. And it does feel like an event by event basis, or you do have to get some really good luck with, say, RNG for your cards, right? Like, you have to get specific cards. Like, you have to get like NP plus Buster Arts or a full Arts chain. Like, you can't just get like the Arts NP and one quick card, because then sometimes it might not kill. So it can feel a little bit more luck based if you don't have Oberon. But talking to other people that are also playing JP and they have to do the same thing, but they have Oberon, it seems to go a little bit better for them. And Oberon also will get better because next anniversary, you do get the option to pick up a free Black Grail, which is very, very nice, especially for someone like Castoria. It's kind of like one of those buffs that she really does appreciate, because having a Black Grail allows her to be very competitive with the other, looping types, because Art Servants with double Castoria, because of this, plus her second skill and two of these running around, you're able to charge them up fully to 100%. And then you can just start ripping and tearing through people with the extra damage. So even if you only have, say, an NP1, NP2 servant and they don't hit as hard, you could still get by with your clears because they're getting that massive NP damage buff, which is something that Castoria doesn't provide. So, extra buffs that you're getting as well is always very, very nice. But I will say, if you just want my answer of, is Castoria worth summoning on before the anniversary? Yes, she's one of those servants that if you told me I'm summoning for Castoria, I'm not going to look at you funny, because she is really, really good still. And I, again, do think she is comparable to people like Kolyanskaya, if not maybe a little bit better, because of ease of use, the fact that we're going to be getting a free Black Grail, and the fact that she has like a lot of versatility in various team comps, right? Where you can use her for farming or challenge quests. Whereas if you're going to use Kolyanskaya in challenge quests, it's kind of like you just got to run in there and hit them very hard with. That doesn't always work out, right? For certain challenge quests, some of them, you do need sustainability, and Castoria allows you to do both. Like, she allows you to hit really hard, but also live for a really long time, which gives you a lot of really good survivability options, which I think is very, very nice. But at the same time, if you're going to be going for Castoria, just make sure you have people that are going to be able to take advantage of it, and that it's going to be better for your box to do Castoria over, say, someone like Kolyanskaya. And if you're skipping out on Kolyanskaya because she does come back around during New Year's, and you're going to be going for Oberon instead, then I actually think Castoria gets more value, actually, because of those setups that Oberon is very good with, being able to plug suit in for some of those Castoria setups to give them extra damage to guarantee certain clears that they might not be able to get. Again, as someone who does play on JP, I really do wish I would have my Oberon, or I would have one so I could plug suit him in for some of those 90++ nodes, because it would take a lot of that RNG out of there, or make some events where I couldn't actually clear the 90++ node with my jank Castoria setup. It would make those a lot more doable. But yeah, that's kind of my answer. Yes, she is definitely worth it. Just make sure that if you're going to commit summoning for Castoria, you're willing to give up, say, someone like Kolyanskaya, or not being able to summon as much on, say, the Oberon banner, something along those lines. But if you're like, nope, I'm going all in for Castoria, and then I'm going to go all in for Oberon, that's a great idea. And if you just have like 1,800 Saint Quartz saved up, and you're like, you know what, I can spare some of the multis for Castoria, then that also is pretty valid, I think. If you just had so many Saint Quartz saved up because you've been saving for like the last 2 years, I think that's also valid. I don't think that's a bad idea either. Well, I guess if you were saving for 2 years, you should have just summoned Castoria when she originally came out, because she came out 2 years ago. But yeah, I guess anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace, late.